in here because, of course, one of the key things to understand is how the world's political system or power base is working, and sustainable goals are clearly a major part of that agenda.
Yes, absolutely. And what I would like to show today is very clear and concrete and overwhelming evidence of how the Sustainable Development Goals have infiltrated into research and universities. And I can say this as a former professor of UK universities who knows the system very well. I want to start out by pointing out this article that we published late last week that I really helped with as commissioning editor for UK Column, called Demise of Livestock Farming, Fraudulent Science in BlackRock, by Neil Harrison. He was specifically talking about farming. Obviously, this is part of a 3-part series. We talked about part 2 of his series last week when we discussed his evidence around the wildfires and Agenda 2030 and Sustainable Development Goals. But this made me look a little bit further into something that he pointed out in the article, which has to do with how, again, Sustainable Development Goals and research are tied together. So back in 2020, when all of us were obviously distracted by something else, and we all know what that is, there was something that was signed by several of the largest academic publishers in the world called the Sustainable Development Goals Publishers Compact from the United Nations. And I would like to start here with a video clip from when they announced how excited they were that they were signing this compact. So let's watch this clip.
Welcome, I'm Michiel Koolman. I'm the Presidential Envoy for Diversity and Inclusion for the International Publishers Association. I am delighted to see publishers and colleagues from across the publishing industry joining us today for this landmark event, the launch of the Sustainable Development Goals Publishers Compact, in short, the SDG Publishers Compact. The compact is a pledge of 10 concrete steps that publishers and publishing organizations can commit to in order to accelerate progress in achieving these Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Only 10 more years to go. I am here joined by an illustrious panel. There's Sherry Aldis, Chief of the United Nations Publications, Hugo Zetzer, President of the International Publishers Association, Jürgen Boos, President and CEO of the Frankfurt Book Fair, Nadja Kneisler, Chair of the Publishers Committee of the German Publishers and Booksellers Association, the Börsenverein. Welcome, everybody. Let me immediately start with explaining what exactly are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and what does the SDG Publishers Compact mean? Sherry, over to you.
Thank you very much, Michiel. I'm delighted to be here. It's a momentous occasion for us to be launching the SDG Publishers Compact, and happy to be working with the IPA again on this project to promote the Sustainable Development Goals. So as you say, we call them the SDGs, and they really are our roadmap for the next 10 years. And when I say our roadmap, I mean all of us, each and every one of us, and publishers as well. So the SDGs are 17 goals that were conceived to transform the world over a period of 15 years. It's a universal call to action, to end poverty, to protect the planet, and to improve the lives and prospects of absolutely everybody, everywhere.
So there we go. It affects all of us. If we go to the next slide here, I've just got some example here from the UN website from showing, as we see the wheel with all those colors, which you will have seen that those presenters were wearing their pins. They always wear the Sustainable Development Goal pins. That's how we know that they're part of it. So what does it mean to sign the compact? Well, there's 10 points that I'd like to go through quickly. Which is committing to the Sustainable Development Goals themselves, or the SDGs, actively promoting and acquiring content that advocates for the SDGs, annually reporting on progress towards achieving the SDGs, nominating a person who will promote SDG progress, raising awareness and promoting the SDGs amongst staff, so that's for the publishers, and 5 more, raising awareness and promoting the SDGs among suppliers, becoming an advocate to customers and stakeholders by promoting the SDG agenda, collaborating across cities, countries, and continents on projects that will advance the SDGs, dedicating budget towards SDG progress, and taking action on at least one SDG goal. So that's what it means for publishers to sign up to this agreement. Now, I'm going to go into some specific examples of publishers and then eventually university projects that show how this is actually getting put into place. Springer Nature is one of the biggest academic publishers in the world, so they have an entire section on their website about how they are promoting Sustainable Development Goals program, and we have a video from Springer Nature as well explaining this.
The people who built Springer Nature have been opening doors to discovery since the beginnings of modern science. The research we publish has provided a trusted source of knowledge to make progress towards a better tomorrow. We build on this legacy with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all.
We work to support researchers across the globe as they tackle urgent societal needs, connecting them with practitioners in policy and business who desperately need those insights to improve the world.
We work to amplify the discoveries in our multidisciplinary books, journals, and cutting-edge science journalism, opening up and disseminating data and insights for those who need it most.
We work to innovate by investing in new services and technologies, such as machine learning to identify SDG-relevant content, providing insights and tools to empower our customers and stakeholders to deliver.
We take responsibility for the environmental and societal impacts of our own business operations, cutting our carbon footprint, working towards greater inclusion and diversity, and forging strong links with the communities we serve.
With 2030 fast approaching, we work to deliver real progress in addressing the most urgent societal needs, because we are a company of researchers,
Engineers,
writers,
communicators,
and leaders
committed to advancing discovery for the benefit of future generations.
So that is what the publishers are doing. So I want to go into specifically a situation of just one UK university, and this is universities all throughout the country, and as you'll see throughout the world if you look at the publishers. So of course, if you are an academic or a researcher, you have to publish papers, and you have to get funding, and you have to make your university happy by showing that you are continuing to do these things. So if we look at the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow, which is where I worked for several years as an academic because I know the system well, I'm just choosing this as one example, but you can see this in any university in our country. They talk about the Sustainable Development Goals under REF 2021. So REF is the Research Excellence Framework that every university in the UK has to participate in every few years. It's the government system for what they call assessing the quality of research in UK higher education institutions. So as we can see on the next slide here, what the University of Strathclyde did as part of their participation in the Research Excellence Framework 2021, they broke down the research of all of the academics that had published over the past years leading up to 2021 and the percentage of each sustainable development goal that the research was meeting, so that basically you're required to meet sustainable development goals to make the university happy, or else you're basically not even allowed to do the research. Every university, as a result of being compliant with the Research Excellence Framework, has to have a research repository. In the case of the University of Strathclyde, it's called the Knowledge-Based Research Information Portal, where you can search all of the published research done by the academics at the university. And you can see right there on the homepage for the portal, there's a list of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And I just want to go into one example of just one research project from the University of Strathclyde. You can find anything that any of these universities are doing now that they have to align with these goals, or else they can't do it. This is one example called Design Hopes, or Healthy Organizations in a Place-Based Ecosystem in Scotland. This was funded for almost £4 million. The funding period is about to end, and it's funded by the Arts and Humanities Research Council, which is again part of the UK Research Council's funding scheme. And what they are doing here is making NHS Scotland more sustainable. So let's look at their video explaining what they have been doing in this project.
The health and care sector is a part of the green transition. Like all other parts of society, and in response to the pressing climate emergency we all face, it needs to work more sustainably and move beyond net zero. If the global healthcare sector were a country, it would be the 5th largest contributor to climate change in the world. And NHS Scotland has set out its own plans to become a net zero organisation by 2040. Design Hopes is a design-led research project which responds to health and social care needs in order to address these pressing challenges. We work collaboratively across 5 of Scotland's universities, in collaboration with NHS Scotland and other project partners, creating a range of design interventions to help meet and move beyond these urgent net zero goals.
Working with frontline healthcare practitioners, I see every day how much energy our systems consume and how much clinical and domestic waste is generated in a single ward of a single hospital. If you can imagine this multiplied across the whole healthcare system, you can start to understand some of the changes required in our day-to-day work to meet our net zero targets.
It's clear there is the will to deliver world-leading health and social care in a way that benefits patients, the planet, and the broader ecosystems we are all part of. There is now an urgent need for us to ensure our health and care services are delivered sustainably. Design Hopes will help us to innovate and change in ways that are tangible and demonstrates the value of these new approaches to patients, NHS Scotland staff, carers and the wider public.
Design Hopes will advance society's understanding of design's value and impact, as well as some of the behaviour changes and tools needed to transition the health and social care sector to an ecologically and socially sustainable approach.
So at the end there, that was Professor Paul Rogers of the University of Strathclyde, who is the leader of the project. And you can see he's talking about behavior change. If we look at one of the, what they call research outputs, i.e. articles, academic papers, produced as a result of this £4 million funded project, there's one here in the research repository from the University of Strathclyde, which is called Design Thinking, Acting, Making, and Net Zero Transformational Change Across NHS Scotland. Professor Rogers is listed as the first author of this paper, and you can see right there clearly on the slide that it contributes to SDG 13 climate action. So everything that is in this repository will have these links. That particular paper was published by a different huge academic publisher called MDPI. They also have a section on their website explaining how they are committed to the UN Compact on SDGs and how these will be transforming the world and how this supports what they do in choosing the research that they publish. One thing that I want to mention as well about Professor Rogers is that his personal profile on the University of Strathclyde's website lists out that he has done research that aligns to all 17 SDGs, which is certainly in today's academic world a clear marker for promotion, if that's what you're after. Here's some examples of what Design Hopes has done with the taxpayers' £4 million. There's a whole website out on this. So Design Hopes, as it says, is supporting a green and just transition for NHS Scotland. But what does that actually mean? Well, some of the projects they've done, because Professor Rogers is in design, they have designed, for example, a board game that engages communities in designing inclusive healthcare gardens to enhance health and well-being. And this interactive game is going to help them learn how to do that. There's a project called Flow, which is an interactive game, once again, designed to help NHS Scotland staff visualize patient movement through hospitals, particularly focusing on urgent or semi-urgent care at NHS Teesside. And reusable theatre caps, hot off the press. This one was a big, huge outcome from this £4 million. It was covered all over mainstream media. And as we can see examples here, this is from that article that I mentioned by the academic publisher. That there's one of the things that they've done is create these reusable operating theater caps, and that this is a big deal for them. They're using the right materials and they can reuse them, and we can see them all happy there in their masks showing off what they've done. Professor Rogers as well, and this is just not to pick on one particular person, but anyone in any university is doing things like this. But I thought this was a particularly interesting thing to end the segment on, not related to the Design Hopes project, but he has contributed to a book called Chronicles of Care, a design history of the COVID-19 virus. And the whole point of it was that it says that in the abstract, it says the COVID-19 crisis and the design interventions that the authors have cataloged in this book prove definitively that design does care. The authors documented this as it evolved every day from the 1st of January 2020 to 31st of May 2020 inclusive. So we're looking at an interesting time frame there, and we can see that research, this book, contributed to 4 different UN SDGs. So I'm sure he got a lot of great credit for that in his annual review, Brian and Ben.
Diane, thank you very much. The caps, reusable caps, got me because basically, as far as I remember, in the NHS, uniforms used to be meticulously boil washed, as was bed linen. And so a reusable cap would have been given a boil wash and brought back into use. But apparently, we now need a £4 million design research study in order to come up with a new cap. Quite astonishing. Thank you for that. Now, once again, a huge thank you to the audience, wherever you are in the world, for everybody supporting UK Column. We can only do what we do with your financial support. So a huge thank you. If you're not on board as a member, or you're not, beg your pardon, let's come back here, or you're not donating to the UK Column, then go to the website and click the blue button and bring that on screen once more and follow it through. Now, tonight at 7 o'clock, Germ Warfare will be interviewing Farmer Angus. So farming, food, health, always very important to us here at the UK Column. If you haven't joined any of Germ's interviews, tune in tonight at 7 p.m. And the next one, Diane, is yours, an interview with Rosemary Jenkinson.
Yes, Brian, I interviewed Rosemary Jenkinson, who's an author that I met at the E-Academy conference that I attended earlier in the summer. She's an author who was canceled by her publisher for something that she wrote. And so she's written this dystopian novel called The Memorizers. And it's a very interesting novel, and we'll be talking about the context around this writing. Just to give you a bit of a preview, on the back cover, it says, "Your truth is the wrong kind of truth."
Yes, and that becomes ever more true. Okay, thank you for that. Now, I just wanted to give a quick mention to some of the people that helped that fantastic local event over the weekend at RAF Harrow Beer near Yelverton. And so I wanted to give a mention to both the Military Vehicle Trust, Devon Military Vehicle Trust, and the World War II Reenactment Southwest Group, who really did a fantastic job. So anybody who's interested in things to do with the Second World War, history thereof, or reenactment, you may choose to give them some support. Now, we've got other people who've been working hard, and we've mentioned them before. We, the people of the Northeast. What have you got here, Diane?
Well, yes, but thanks to our friends at We the People Northeast, who provided the coverage that we all showed 2 weeks ago today on the migrant protests that happened in Newcastle. They have taken some of our content that we used on the news that day, as well as our extra time content, and some of their own coverage that didn't quite manage to make it into the news just because of time. And they've created a full video, which is over an hour, called Whose Streets? Because one of the chants happening during the protest, of course, was Whose Streets? Our Streets. And this is from, again, the 2nd of August migrant protest at the Newbridge Hotel in Newcastle. So they've provided me with a trailer. You can see the full thing on their Rumble channel, which we will put a link to in the show notes. But let's watch the trailer for now.
We're not moving! 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 We're not moving!
Ben, just for me to see people in masks when clearly the police have said many, many times they're not going to tolerate people being masked up. This appears to me, at least, to be part of what I'm going to call two-tier policing.
It's certainly two-tier policing. I think a lot of those people are just cowards, to be honest with you. If you've got an opinion, get out on the street and front it up yourself, you know. And also, a lot of these people have just bust in. So you have local communities out protesting, and then these people turn up, a lot of the time ushered in by the police, and they're from out of the area.
Well, I'm not going to answer any questions. You need to go through our press office unless it's something about what you want to do now.
Okay, will the police be taxing in the far left like they did in Essex recently?
I'm not going to be answering any kind of questions. I'm not here for an interview. Clearly, I'm here to help police this protest, all right?
It's a fuse. They've lit a fuse. It's slowly burning. Yeah. It's slowly burning. And eventually it's just going to be an explosion.
Okay, well, thank you very much, We the People Northeast, for that. And I hope that they'll be providing more clips in the future, because they're doing some really good work getting out and about and recording what's happening. Now, also a reminder for the coming weekend event, and that's the Freedom Music Festival, the Hope Group. And UK Column will be there. We'll be setting up this coming Friday, but we're there for the weekend and we're really looking forward to it. And of course, UK Column team will be giving a full day to not only a news, but also talks to the audience on the Saturday. So do come along and join in. It will be really excellent. And I have just been told that if you use the Freedom 50 code when you apply for a ticket, for this event, you'll get 50% off. So there you are. You can't do better than that. Now, just a reminder that the UK Column on Location event in York, tickets selling very, very well. So thank you very much to everybody who's bought them. We've been starting to announce speakers. So Andrew Wakefield, of course, we've talked about. We've also said that people will be able to see the Protocol 7 video. But we'd also like to announce that Tess Laurie from the World Council for Health will also be one of the speakers. There are more to come. And of course, she's been working very hard to give ordinary people power in making decisions about their health, and saying that there's a better way of doing things than we're told via the World Economic Forum, Sustainable Development Goals, or indeed the NHS on health. So I'm sure that's going to be really fascinating. Now, Ben, let's bring you in.